what's up? It's Spencer Ryan. Today, we're gonna give you a look at the iPhone 12 Pro Max through this first impressions video. Now, this is not a review video. It's just first impressions after unboxing it, getting a couple of days to play around with it. I do intend on doing a full review in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. But for now, I just wanted to give you a first look at this thing and let you know what my experience has been so far. I did do an unboxing over on Instagram Reels. I'll go ahead and play that for you right now. If unboxing ASMR type stuff is not your thing, just fast forward 30 seconds and we'll go ahead and dive right into the good stuff. So, of course, as you saw, there was no power brick in the box. This has been the subject matter for a while, ever since Apple announced that they weren't going to put a power brick in the box. This was 100% a marketing move, in my opinion. This has nothing to do with eco reasons. I don't think it has anything to do with saving the amount of chargers that's piling up in the planet. This was 100% a way for Apple to arguably cram more features into this, keep the cost roughly around the same, and not have to include something else in the box for people that would cost more money. This is proven by the fact that pretty much any charger that you need for this thing does not work with the old USB type A chargers. You need a USB-C charger with the cable that they give you in the box. So clearly they didn't think that went 100% through, but it is what it is. Now the box itself is thinner, and arguably this is nice. Do I think that they still could have fit a charger in here? I mean, it's Apple. They pay millions of dollars to engineers and designers. They definitely could have fit a charger in here. So I think that it would have been nice to have the charger in the box, but the box design itself compared to some of the older ones is really, really nice. I'm liking this. It fits in my hand. It feels good. It's just a good box. I like it. Nothing's changed. I do want to say that. Like, I'm not shilling the box here. This is just a smaller, thinner version, but it's nice. It feels good to have a smaller thumbprint, so to speak, or fingerprint on the world, I guess. It's just a good box. So let's go ahead and dive right into the design of the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Now, I do not have the iPhone 12 Pro, I don't have the iPhone 12, and I don't have the iPhone 12 mini. All I have is the Max, so I'm just going based off of this phone itself. We did get an upgrade to a 6.7-inch display from that previous 6.5-inch, and wow, the squared off edges and design that we know from the iPhone 4 and iPhone 5, I'm so glad we went back to this. It is such a beautiful and elegant design. Now, it does make it feel a little bit thicker in the hands than the iPhone 11 Pro Max or the iPhone XS Max, but I don't know. I love it. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful design. Because of the bigger design for the iPhone 12 Pro, they did shift the side buttons down a little bit. So the power button, the volume button, and the toggle switch are just slightly lower, which is actually extremely helpful because it feels better in the hands. The buttons are definitely easier to reach. That was a really good move. I didn't think that was gonna happen. I wouldn't have thought of that really, but it's definitely welcome on my end. They do have the matte glass back now, which is, I mean, it's beautiful. I think it's a step in the right direction. If I understand correctly, Apple needed to keep glass on the back for wireless charging, and it gives it kind of that luxurious feel. Going with the matte finish on this glass is in my opinion, it was the best way to go. It's a beautiful design. It reflects really well in the light. It doesn't attract a lot of fingerprints, unlike its counterpart, the iPhone 12. So I'm a big fan of the matte back. The stainless steel edges, on the other hand, they look good when they're clean, but I need to emphasize that these things are never clean. The second I took it out of the box, I got fingerprints all over it. That is a little bit annoying, and I would have preferred a matte finish on the sides over the beautiful look of the stainless steel. On top of that, it just makes it slightly more slippery. You do have the matte finish on the back, so you got a little bit of grip there, but on the sides, I could easily see this just sliding out of my, I can see this just sliding out of my hands. So that's something to be aware of. The stainless steel sides, I think, is probably one of the biggest cons in the whole iPhone 12 Pro Max design. I opted for the graphite, but the Pacific blue is beautiful. The gold looks beautiful. All of the colors in the lineup really look good. Graphite for me was just the one color that I felt would match in any aesthetic that I choose to put it in, and that's why I picked it. Now let's talk about the battery life. Apple does say that you should get about 20 hours of battery life from this thing. I'm not the guy who lets my phone charge to 100 and then runs it all the way down to 0. And because of that, I find myself either charging it at night because it's most convenient. I don't want to go into the next day when I'm at work and potentially have my phone die on me. So I charge it at night and I charge it whenever it's convenient. I have CarPlay, so it's not the wireless CarPlay, so I am charging the phone when I'm using CarPlay, so I do charge my phone often. With that said, this battery does feel good. It feels like you would probably get around 20 hours of use out of it. It does not die quickly, especially when I'm using it. I could be scrolling through Instagram, TikTok, whatever the case may be, and I see minimal blips in battery life over time. I felt the same way about my XS Max though. When I had my XS Max, I never really had an issue with battery life, so I think Apple has found a happy medium here with the battery life. It would be nice to have a 2-day battery life, but we're not quite there yet. When that happens, I'll be extremely excited. Of course, all the new iPhone lineups have 5G. Now, the thing about 5G is it's only beneficial when you really have the good stuff. I haven't had a chance to test 5G much lately, but what I can tell you is that as soon as I activated this phone, it said 5G in the top right corner. That is probably 4G LTE. The thing is that now all the iPhones show you 5G even when you have 4G LTE. And then on top of that, when you have this slightly better version of 5G, which can pretty much just give you like a little bit better speed bump than 4G LTE, it's there as well, but it's all kind of lumped into this category of 5G. The real 5G magic happens when you have the ultra wideband technology, which uses millimeter wave. That stuff is pretty insane, and I did have a chance to test it. So what I did was I took the speeds of the regular 5G, which more than likely was 4G LTE. I ran them through speed tests, and I got about what you would expect from standard 4G LTE. I do have a couple of 5G ultra wideband towers near my house, so I went down there and tested it out, and I capped at 700 megabits per second, around there, which is insane. I mean, I'm thinking about it, and it's almost gigabit speeds, which I don't even have at the landline in my house. So I'm getting like gigabit speeds, almost gigabit speeds rather, from my phone, and I'll talk about that in a second. It was so crazy to see the speed increase from just a couple of basically walking distance feet to connecting to the 5G ultra wideband tower and seeing that increase in performance. It was insane. With that said, 700 megabits per second is not what I've seen a lot of other people getting on ultra wideband technology. So I'm gonna have to test it out a little bit more, see, if it changes based on the distance from the tower. I was actually pretty close, but I was in my car, and see what happens. I'll have more on that in the full review in the next coming weeks. So I'm gonna test it out a lot more and see, what you could expect in a real world scenario using 5G. Now I feel like the big talk of the new phones from Apple was the camera lineup. And I think that when you're dealing with phone providers, whether it be Apple, Samsung, Google, whatever the case may be, there's always this neck and neck competition for the best phone. And up until this year, iPhone was not at the top. It always performed best in terms of video, but this year, at least in my experience, Apple has something to brag about. So with the 12 Pro Max, you do have the triple camera lineup. You have the ultra wide angle, the wide angle, and the telephoto lens. This year, the telephoto lens is 2.5 times optical zoom over the 2 times optical zoom, so you get a little bit better optical zoom in that field. You also have LiDAR, which helps you take nighttime portrait modes and gives you a little bit better improvement in AR as well. And you have sensor shift. So inside the main camera, the sensor actually shifts with something relative to in-body image stabilization as opposed to optical image stabilization. So what do I think? Well, I've had a couple of days to play with it and I've used the camera a lot. Coming from the XS Max, having the ultra wide camera is incredible if you have the right light. If you do it inside in a dark environment, and by dark, I mean lit by a window, not like dark, you're not gonna get great results. It's very cloudy, there's a lot of noise, it doesn't look that great. But outside, like landscape photos and stuff, beautiful. I need more time to test the cameras out, but I did use the video camera and it's also stunning to see the dynamic range. It's amazing to see such a crisp image from a phone in my hand, especially considering as a video creator, I typically use mirrorless cameras and DSLRs all the time. While they don't compare on an even playing field, it's really incredible to see what these little things can do. I don't want to get too much into the details of it because I want to save that for the full review, but I did compare night mode to a Pixel 4, and both of them had relatively great images, I guess you could say, but it was interesting to see the Pixel 4 took a lot more time to take the photo and process the image over the iPhone. So I took this photo of the stars on the iPhone 12 Pro Max and it took about 30 seconds of exposure time. And the same photo on the Pixel 4 took about 2 to 3 minutes if I remember correctly. I mean, that is a drastic difference. That is a lot of time saved. So I'm extremely impressed with the camera of the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Not only that, I saw on Twitter that Sarah Dietschy did a nighttime portrait and it was amazing. So it's really exciting stuff coming out of this camera lineup, and I'll have to dive into a little bit more to get into the gritty details. It wouldn't be the iPhone 12 Pro Max if we didn't talk about the screen. The screen is 0.2 inches bigger, again going from 6.5 to 6.7, and now we have flat edges. They're no longer curved, so it gives it this more immersive, bigger screen feel. Some people feel that this screen is just too big. I do not. I feel like, much like MKBHD said, we're on the line. We're not quite there yet. It's a beautiful design. It's a beautiful phone. I love it. I love everything about this screen, but if we went just slightly bigger, it would just be too much. Now, when I took this out of the box and I compared it to my XS Max, the screen on the 12 Pro Max had a much warmer tone to it. Now, I do use True Tone. I use True Tone often, so there is that. But even with True Tone on the XS Max and True Tone on the 12 Pro Max, this felt just too warm. I actually had to go into the settings and adjust the color temperature manually to get it to where I felt like it felt right. Now, I did a lot of searching on Reddit, on the internet, and a lot of people say that this happens every single year. And some people blame it on Apple just basically writing off the first few shipments and just basically ignoring quality control. Other people say that every year as the displays change, as they become more optimized, they get just a little bit warmer. I don't know the answer to this. I'm a little curious if I actually have a problem with this device or if that's just the way it is. If any of you have any experience with warmer tones on your newer iPhones, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your experience. All in all, I did have to change the color temperature manually. It was a very slight adjustment to get it to where I was comfortable with it, and now I'm fine with it. It just kind of bothers me a little bit knowing that right out of the box, it wasn't the best experience because I did compare it. I turned True Tone on and I compared it with a piece of paper, and the phone screen was just much warmer than that white piece of paper. Now, we do have ceramic shield on the glass, which is a newer technology that Apple released that supposedly gives it 4 times better shatter resistance. MKBHD scared the mess out of me because he said that he had already gotten a scratch on his 12 Pro. I don't know if these are more scratch resistant or less scratch resistant because I fully intend on not using a case or screen protector on this phone. There are some early tests that say that supposedly ceramic shield is actually better and more scratch resistant as well as shatter resistant. I'm hoping that's the case because it terrifies me every time I just set this thing down somewhere or I slide it into my pocket. I'm gonna stick with the fact that I'm not gonna put a case or screen protector on this and hope for the best, but I guess we'll see in the full review. Last but not least, MagSafe. So Apple introduced MagSafe. It's the little magnetic attachment on the back. You could just, basically take their MagSafe puck charger, slap it right on there, or take their MagSafe wallet, cases, all that stuff. It's a whole ecosystem of wireless charging and magnetic connecting accessories. I don't like it. I think it's tacky. As a matter of fact, I think it was a marketing ploy because Apple did tell us that we were going to get the Air Power Mat or whatever it was called, and that got scrapped. And I think that this was their way to make up for it and introduce a whole new ecosystem of products that they make money on, that they get licensing fees from, proprietary chargers, and just write it off as new technology. I don't think it's innovative at all. I would rather place my device anywhere on a wireless charging mat and it just start charging. Instead, we are restricted to these little magnetic pieces that have to fit one way, and if they don't fit that one way, you might go the entire night without your phone charged. And ideally, the magnet takes care of that situation, right? You just kind of put it near it and it goes boop, pops right into place. I don't know. I don't like it. Can't I just get like a table or pad or something that I could just set my phone down on and no matter what, it's gonna start charging? That would be incredible. And with that said, I do use Alogic's 3-in-1 wireless charger, and I did notice that the placement of the wireless charging is a little bit more sensitive on this phone. It takes a little tweaking to get it right and to get it actually charging, and sometimes it even has to rest on the camera bump, which I'm not super thrilled about. But I think that when they added MagSafe, they moved things around a little bit and made it a little bit more difficult for some of the wireless chargers out there now to work with it. I don't think this was done purposefully. I think it's just the nature of innovation and getting new devices. It is what it is, but it is something to keep in mind. All in all, this device is beautiful. I'm thrilled that it's finally in my hands. I was happy to unbox it. It was a great experience, and I've enjoyed using it so far coming from the XS Max. I'm gonna keep setting it up. I'm excited to keep diving into some more of the features, getting a little bit more in depth with 5G and these cameras, and being able to relay that in my review video in the coming weeks. I think arguably this might be one of the biggest changes to the iPhone lineup recently, but it all still feels very familiar. It still feels like an iPhone, just an enhanced experience. Apple seems to have done a great job with this phone, and it kind of makes me wonder what the iPhone 13 is gonna be like. Regardless, there were no surprises when I got this and opened the box and started using it. It felt like a great experience. It was exactly what I expected, if not a little bit better, and I'm excited to continue to use it over the next couple of weeks, months, and year. That's it for this first impressions video of the iPhone 12 Pro Max. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below if you plan on getting the iPhone 12 Pro Max, or if you already have one, let me know what your experience has been like so far. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at @TheSpencerRyan, where I post a lot of tech content, and as always, I will see you on the next video.